I'm excited to be joined here today with Victoria Trumbower, Managing Member at Trumbower Financial Advisors. Um, in 1981, Victoria began to specialize in personal financial planning by expanding her role as a closely held business advisor to include the financial concerns of shareholders and their families. She migrated to then the Big Eight in 1989 when Arthur Young hired her to manage a budding personal financial planning practice within their tax department. She has since cultivated a diverse client base, including corporate executives, retirees, professionals, and investors located throughout the US and overseas. She has advised companies and nonprofits on compensation, retirement, relocation, and downsizing programs. Victoria and her firm have a reputation for excellence and creativity in individual and fiduciary income taxation, as well as wealth transfer planning. Victoria, thank you so much for joining me today on this interview.
It's my pleasure.
During our initial communication, we went back and forth about organic growth. And still today, with so many advisors looking at technology as the key to growth, I wanted to share, and I'm going to say your secret sauce, but your perspective on how you have managed to obtain organic growth year after year.
Well, it actually started with my very first job in public accounting. The managing partner would talk to us as a group about new clients. And his message was the best marketing you could ever do is an outstanding job for your existing client. And that client will take care of the rest. And so that has been my mission. And all of our clients are here from referrals, either from other clients, friends and family, or professionals that we work with that know our reputation. So we don't divert our resources toward broad mass marketing efforts. We try and make sure that every minute of every hour is spent making the experience of the existing client the absolute best. And that's the message that the people that work here, so none of them are required to make rain or bring in clients or do anything. All they need to do is their jobs as well as they can. And we develop really close personal relationships with these people so that when we do get a referral, we don't have to sell ourselves. It's already been sold, I guess. In fact, sometimes you're like, oh, I'm not sure if we're right. Oh, no, they have to have it because their friends and family have it. If you go on our website, you would find it very rudimentary. It has information about our scope of service and our skill set, but you would have a hard time finding a phone number or an address or an email address. And some people find that odd, but we don't want people surfing the net looking for an advisor, finding us, contacting us. Then we have to divert our resources to talking to them. We don't want to be rude. And 9 times out of 10, a person in that position is not really suitable for us. Now, one thing that makes us different is we are not trying to build a low margin, high volume practice. We want to provide value to the clients that we have and to their referrals, and they tend to be less price sensitive. They appreciate what we're doing for them. They know we have our heart and soul in what we're giving them, and they're willing to pay for it. So it's been extremely profitable. And I don't feel that I need to bring in hundreds of clients.
Of course.
The couple that we get every year are just fine. And we managed to do it with a team that has remained fairly stable over the years. We have 11 people. We've added a position here and there, and we have capacity. We're very, very efficient. We don't fool around. So there's not a lot of activity that goes on here that isn't focused on delivering the service to the client. Other than compliance, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, of course. But in terms of like technology, because we are in a technologically advanced environment, how are you leveraging technology or not to grow your practice?
Well, I think more of the or not, except in some respects. Obviously, Teams, Zoom, we have clients, as you mentioned, all over the world. And in the past, we did telephone conference calls. And so the ability to connect face to face with people has been good, except sometimes if the client's, I guess, internet isn't quite as stable as it could be, the face to face, when it freezes or it gets blurry or they can't make the audio work, it actually would be a little more effective if we were just on the phone. So that's one thing we do. It's always been remote in some respects. And so our presentation materials, for example, I mean, this is a very simplistic thing, but we don't use a bullet point in an outline. And we always send the client a very detailed report outlining some agenda before we have a conversation, but it's always numbered and there are tables so that we are not going, oh yeah, third bullet point page, you know. So it is always intended to be handled remotely. In some cases, technology is a hindrance. They change things up on us. New versions of things that are not improvements, but it requires that we're used to clicking over there, clicking up here, and now we have to get used to a whole new program. And sometimes the operating systems aren't, don't mesh. And so when things are working well, I find advanced technology annoying. I do. That now, to the extent technology enhances security, I mean, it's something that keeps me up at night. But I have to rely to a large extent on some of the third parties that we work with, our custodians and that sort of thing. I have thought long and hard about AI, that big buzzword. And again, since we're not trying to be robo-advisors, we like the personal contact. Everything that we do is totally customized. So I don't see a role for that. We have research tools that we pay a lot of money for that are focused. So I don't need to go into the web and collect everything anybody knows about an ETF. Mm-hmm. We have a place to get that research. And we've developed presentation materials, as I mentioned, over the years that we improve every time we use them. We get feedback from clients. So we use those as templates. We don't need a machine to come up with a natural language thing. We already have that. And frankly, even though I'm a CPA and a CFP practitioner, I'm not that good with numbers. My strengths really are in communication and explaining concepts to clients. So I have a hard time fitting that into this practice. We have people that answer the phone. Our phones are answered at our desks. We don't have a receptionist. We don't have it. We don't need some an automatic something. I suppose if I got a robot that could scan things, that would be fine. But it's good to get up out of your chair every once in a while, walk down the hall and scan something. Oh, and here's one of my other real pet peeves, and this kind of goes into one of your other discussion points. The idea that you can do and appreciate what we do on your phone, it doesn't work well. And some of the younger clients, you send them something and they're like, oh, you didn't send me that. I'm like, you have to scroll down. You have to make it big. You're not going to be able to appreciate this thing on your phone. So sometimes we go back to the old fashioned way. We put it in a notebook with tabs and a cover letter and we mail it to them.
Oh, wow. Really, eh? But I love that you have that personal touch. It's, having the phone at your desk and just answering it as opposed to having a reception. It's that experience, that personal experience where they know that they can always contact you.
And I make my own appointments. Sometimes people will, especially in the corporate executive market, they'll say, well, I'll have my admin talk to your admin. I'm like, well, I am the admin. So no one's making my appointments for me. I do it. Now, Outlook is nice to have.
Right, of course.
And I don't need anything fancier than that, really.
What are some of the strategies that you're implementing to grow organically? And I know you've touched on this, but like in terms of like beyond referrals, what are those strategies that you sit down with your team to say, hey, this is what we need to do, and this is how we're going to be, progressing to like grow next year?
Well, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, I think, because one of the key strategies in all investment advisors are facing this is an aging client base. And so we go the extra yard, mile, 10 miles to engage that second generation, to set up accounts for the kids, to these are marketing dollars being spent and marketing time. And sometimes it can be a distraction and a little annoying, but it is so important to get to know those people and to their parents already trust us completely. In fact, in most estate plans where they are listed as the first person you call if something happens, but we need to establish that trust and in that familiarity with that second generation. We get invited to their weddings. They send us the pictures of the grandchildren and the children, and that takes time. And we're not going to make money on it at that time. But when something happens, and this is really more for my successors. So when these older generations pass on, the money stays here and the relationship stays here. And there's another thing that I have done strategically, or maybe by accident, this is a comprehensive practice. We don't just do investment management. In fact, it almost always starts with financial planning. And we do tax returns for people, not H&R Block returns, but real meaty, ugly ones. And that keeps it all in-house. So we have 2 CPAs, 3 CFAs, and then we all have a CFP certificate in the background. And I have been fortunate enough to have been involved in those big accounting firms in the highest level of sophisticated estate planning. So we help the client design the wealth transfer plan, and we help make sure that the structure of their assets is well suited for it. So if they've got revocable living trusts, we make sure things are titled. And in many situations, we can handle the administration of the estate from start to finish. We don't pass it off back on to an attorney. And that way we're dealing one-on-one with the executor, with the trustees, and it becomes more or less seamless. And then, of course, we have the resources to do the tax returns, do share returns, the estate returns, and then we will focus on the investment policies for that second generation. How are they different than their parents? Even just with widows, and widows, sometimes they're at a loss, but we have that capability to do a technical financial plan that touches on all aspects of their financial lives. And that can be, sometimes it's a loss leader. Sometimes we're doing things and we're not being compensated for them today, but we will be compensated for them in the future, which is what marketing is, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And speaking of, you brought up wealth transfer. How are you or Trumbowers approaching multi-generational wealth transfer? How are you incorporating the next generation? You mentioned next generation, you're attending those weddings, and I love that aspect as well. But how are you approaching it?
Well, we're controlling it. We're trying to control the process from beginning to end.
And so you're bringing in that next generation into that conversation with the parents early on to be able to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but we're also bringing the technical expertise that many firms like us don't have. So we've got a background in public accounting and tax compliance and estate planning and estate administration, so that we can help that client design the plan. We know how it's supposed to work, so that when there is something happens, that next generation automatically, we're the go-to. We already have a relationship with them. And then we work on the next generation to make sure that they have estate planning. And sometimes it is, and it's not always just technical. We have to get into really hard conversations with maybe children that aren't functioning well. What kind of safeguards can we help them put into place? And we here all have our own personal experiences, and we're not, I don't want to be, I don't know, sexist, but we're not pinstripe suits. We're approachable, and we're empathetic, and they can share all kinds of things that are difficult to talk about with us, so we can help them address those issues.
Of course, absolutely. Are you on the other side, are you bringing in team members that are like younger advisors that will be able to connect with that next generation as well? Or is it just, how is that looking?
Well, I have a team in place that's pretty well established. Most people have been here for 20 years or more. They're in their 40s. Um, uh, the kind of work that we do requires experience. You can't really learn it. You can't come out of college with a degree in it. Um, we do bring in interns frequently, with the idea that if when they graduate, if we have a slot for them and we need them, they will have had some comfort level with our practice. Many times I send them out into the world and let them get their practice elsewhere. And then they come here, and then they know what they don't want to do. They know that, yeah. So am I bringing in, what are they called? Next,
Next gen?
no. That's not a deliberate strategy. It will happen as we age out. My sister is our office manager. I expect she'll retire when I do, and her son will take over that job, and then we'll need somebody young to come in to fill in his role, and so on and so forth. But right now, we're very stable, and I think we are communicating pretty well with that group of people. We're not so old and decrepit that they don't have that they don't hear us and they don't want to interact with us. We can be fun, and we can put ourselves in those shoes. But they really look to us as role models and where they aspire to be, and to help them get their financial houses in order. And I am so complimentary when a young couple or a young person recognizes that you can't start too young to get your house in order. And then, again, loss leader will do a plan for you. Sometimes daddy and mommy will pay for it. If they don't, it's okay.
Of course, absolutely. What is your advice to other allocators on some of the concerns that you're seeing in today's investment?
Well, now this is my opinion, and it's not a popular one, but alternatives. Okay. My experience is, and we know principals in these major companies who are marketing all these alternatives to retail level, even the next level clients. And they will confirm my opinion. They keep the good stuff for themselves. Your client's not going to get the good stuff. It's expensive. And the way we do business, it's redundant. Big institutions, fine. But for our clients, it doesn't have a place, and it is very expensive and very complicated and probably unnecessary if you really pick it apart. But it's popular. So these robo things that I've seen. So we do tax returns for clients where we don't always manage all their money. The things we see are sometimes frightening. A system that is buying and selling and buying and selling and buying and selling a share and a half with pages and pages and pages and pages of transactions. What are you getting out of this?
Yeah.
Nothing. And it's expensive and complicated. And just because everybody's talking about it doesn't make it a good thing. The other challenge that I'm seeing out there, and I don't know how to fix it, I hope that more investment advisors will become engaged in it. The SEC is out of control, and so is DOJ. These are bureaucrats that don't have anything else to do but write regulation after regulation that targets things that are simply not issues for most people. I mean, if you've got people who are out there who are fraudulent, they're going to be fraudulent, and you're not going to stop them. But to try and impose all of this very structured, boilerplate, nonsensical language that we're supposed to communicate to clients that's supposed to make them understand things better, but really it's just make work. All it does is make work for people, and it's going to reduce our productivity. It takes resources away from our ability to do what we're trying to do, just the best thing for the client. So I know they have public comment periods, and I would hope that more of us will participate in those to try and rein them in a little bit. And yeah, we need to have regulation. We need to protect the client, but we need a little common sense, and it has gone way beyond that. What else? Our viewpoint, you keep it simple.
Okay.
Make it cost effective. If you don't understand it, don't do it.
Let's go into the
for that client's situation.
Of course, yeah. So again, you kind of going to the last question that I just asked, but considering your areas of expertise, what improvements would you like to see in our industry?
I don't know what they're doing, but I have to rely on third parties. So our custodians, I want to make sure that they really are as secure as they say they are. You know, you get the letters all the time from places where there's been a data breach. I know that our custodians try really hard, and yet at the same time, they are always looking for ways to make themselves more profitable that involve technology that I think exposes transactions to more cyber risk. So I'd like to see people be less focused on convenience and their own margins, and more on is scanning this check really the right thing from your phone? I mean, I know people do it, but I had $188,000 worth of tax payments stolen from the mail, U.S. Post Office, and someone was able to negotiate them, even though they were obviously fraudulent. So some of this technology stuff, I want to make sure it's really secure.
So technology isn't really what you would say is your first line of defense.
Not the kind of technology that allows me to serve more people with fewer people.
Yeah.
Obviously, the things I mentioned before, Microsoft, if you didn't switch it up, my people would not have to spend hours trying to figure out where the drop down button is for this and that, and then they can focus more on the client. The trading platforms that they roll out, sometimes they're enhancements and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they haven't been properly thought through. So I'm not, I don't want the technology to write the plan. They can't. We're happy to spend our time doing those things as opposed to letting a machine do it, I guess. I would really like to not, again, I mentioned we have to rely on third parties. To the extent possible, I like to keep things in-house because I have my own IT consultant. I vet them, I pay them. I don't want to go down. If I am forced to do business and use a third party, I'm at the mercy of their maintenance schedules and things like that.
Last question. What's one piece of advice you'd like to give an advisor that's looking to grow their practice?
Well, the way I did it, I don't know. You got to start somewhere. The way I did was to start in a place that already had clients and impress those clients with the fact that what they got in the way of outstanding service had nothing to do with that big company and had to do with me. And so we left those companies to start my own practice. They came with me like Velcro. And I pulled all-nighters, okay? I work weekends if I have to, and holidays. I don't see a lot of people interested in doing that, but that's how I did it. And I did it raising a family, single parent for a while, that kind of thing. So it involved grueling hard work, but it paid off. Now I can let them take care of it. Now, it will take 4 of them to replace me. That's okay. There's plenty here. So there's enough here to support for principals, no problem.
Well, Victoria, this was super insightful. And I love the few words that you use. It's trust. Trust was a big one because trust with clients. Service your clients, put them first, and they take care of the rest with referrals. So I love that philosophy of yours. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insights, expertise, and perspectives with our audience. If viewers wanted to connect with you, how would they, what would be the best way?
I suppose you could give them my email address.
I, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You know, it was a pleasure. Have a great day.